year is 1566. A storm gathers over the small provincial town of Oracle of Provence. Inside a modest stone house, the scent of burning wax and ink fills the air. An old man, his body swollen from years of gout, leans over a desk illuminated by a single flickering flame. His quill scratches across parchment, the ink glistening in rhythmic bursts. Words of warning, of destiny, of things yet to come. This man is Michel de Nostradamus. The world will remember him as Nostradamus, the seer who claimed to see beyond the limits of time. But who was he really? A healer? A scholar? A prophet? Or something altogether more mysterious? A man who found a way to listen to time itself. Before we dive too deep into this mystical tale of Nostradamus, please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more content from Lost Pages Studios. We truly hope you enjoy the story. Chapter 1. The Boy from St. Tremy. Born in the winter of 1503, beneath the pale stars of St. Tremy de Provence, Michel's arrival seemed unremarkable. But whispers followed him, the boy of a family, newly Christian, yet descended from Jewish scholars said to have carried the wisdom of Solomon himself. In his youth, Provence was a land of contrasts, olive groves and plague pits, holy relics and forbidden books. From an early age, Michel devoured knowledge, like a starving man devours bread. He read the ancient physicians, studied the cycles of the moon, and asked questions that made priests uneasy. When the plague swept through Avignon, closing the university's doors, the young Nostradamus did not run. He stayed walking the narrow alleys where death crept unseen. In the despair of those dark days, something within him awakened. He began to believe that the heavens, too, spoke in patterns that fate itself could be measured in stars, in numbers, in rhythm. He did not yet call it prophecy, but he had begun to see. Chapter 2. The alchemistus apprentice became an apothecary, a man who turned earth into medicine. Grinding herbs beneath candlelight, he mixed rose hips and cypress, myrrh and wine, seeking cures for the incurable. But more than medicine filled his notebooks. Alongside his recipes were symbols, sigils, and cryptic notations of lunar phases and celestial conjunctions. To Nostradamus, disease and destiny were not separate. Both were governed by hidden forces, and the key to both lay in deciphering nature's language. Yet fate would test him cruelly. In 1534, the plague returned. It took his wife and 2 small children, his heart, his purpose, and the last thread tying him to simple faith. For months, he wandered southern France, silent, gaunt. Broken, the physician who could not heal those he loved. But in that silence, in that grief, he claimed later that visions began to come to him, not in dreams, but in waking flashes. Faces, fire, crowns falling, blood on foreign soil. The man who had once studied medicine now sought to heal the soul of humanity itself by revealing the patterns of fate. Chapter 3. The Queen's astrologer, years later, his almanacs began to circulate small. Cryptic books filled with planetary alignments and predictions for the year ahead. Farmers, nobles, even scholars whispered his name. By 1550, Nostradamus had become a household word. But fame has its own gravity, and soon it drew him to the glittering courts of power. Catherine de' Medici, Queen of France, wife of Henry II, summoned him to her palace. France was a cauldron of political intrigue and religious tension, and the Queen's faith in astrology bordered on obsession. She believed that the stars themselves whispered to Nostradamus. One story tells of how he gazed into her eyes and foretold the violent death of her husband, struck through the eye during a jousting match. When, years later, King Henry II fell exactly as described, the Queen's fascination became reverence. From that moment, Nostradamus was no longer merely a scholar. He was the Oracle of France. Chapter 4. The Prophecies in 1555. He published Les Prophéties, 942 verses arranged in centuries, written in a strange blend of French, Latin, Greek, and Occitan. He did not claim to write them of his own will. He said they came to him in trance, in a quiet night, seated alone. The bronze tripod beside me, a small flame extinguished, he wrote. The secret rests upon the motion of the stars. Each quatrain was a riddle. Some were pastoral, others apocalyptic. The young lion will overcome the old. On the field of war, in single combat, he will pierce his eyes through a golden cage. 2 wounds made one, then dies a cruel death. Many saw in this the prophecy of King Henry's fatal joust. Others claimed it was coincidence, a trick of language and imagination. But the book spread like wildfire. Nobles, monks, and mystics poured over its pages, convinced they held glimpses of the future. Wars, fires, revolutions, and empires yet unborn. Some say Nostradamus feared what he had unleashed. Others believe he knew that to see the future was to bear its burden. Chapter 5. The man behind the myth. Despite the aura of prophecy, Nostradamus remained a man of science. He wrote of cosmetics and medicine, of plague cures and dietary advice. Yet even in his practical texts, there lingered the language of ritual, of smoke and flame, of stars and symbols. His remedies for plague involved fresh air, rosewater, and hygiene, forward thinking for his time. But he also believed celestial alignments could hasten recovery. To him, the stars were not distant. They were the anatomy of destiny. And through all his writings, one truth emerged. Nostradamus saw time as a living thing, cyclical, rhythmic, breathing. When asked how he foresaw events centuries away, he answered simply, "The past and the future are mirrors, and I look into both." Chapter 6. The last visioning, the final years of his life, gout and dropsy left him frail. Yet even as his body failed, his mind remained fixed on the heavens. He continued to write, scribbling late into the night. On the eve of his death, he reportedly told his secretary, "You will not find me alive at sunrise." By morning, he was gone, July 1566, leaving behind his wife, his children, and manuscripts that would outlive kingdoms. Centuries would pass, and still his words would be studied, debated, and feared. Some would claim he foresaw Napoleon, Hitler, even the burning towers of a new millennium. Others would dismiss it all as coincidence, as the eternal human urge to find meaning in chaos. Yet perhaps that is precisely why Nostradamus endures, because he represents that thin line between truth and mystery, between order and wonder. He was a man of the Renaissance, a time when science was young and magic was not yet gone. A man who sought to understand the infinite not through faith alone, but through observation, language, and vision.